Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode 39 of Security Matters with the Coffee Squad. Today, we are talking about holiday travel and airports. We got a special guest on here, good buddy Bear. Bear graduated from Texas A&M back in '83, and he currently serves as a security manager at one of the largest and busiest airports here in the United States. In 2018, he retired as a special agent from the FBI, and he joined the FBI back in 1996. He's served numerous roles, both serving in the Army, both active duty and reserves. He served in the Phoenix office and then finally the Dallas field office. So, with his time in the FBI, tons and tons of experience. So, the airport is lucky to have him with all his experience in counterterrorism, special operations, polygraph. Don't want to lie to Bear. And he concluded his assigned training at the Dallas Division, training and National Academy Coordinator. So, tons and tons of experience. He's married. His wife is also a retired special agent, and they have 4 children and quite a few grandchildren there
Very
out in
prolific.
Texas. So, Bear, welcome to the podcast. Appreciate you having you on here.
Thanks, Jake. I appreciate it. Yeah, and my kids really loved the fact that I was a polygraph examiner. They enjoyed that.
Yeah, probably hated it.
They did.
Where have
They
you
hated
been?
it.
You know what I learned? Like, you hear people, like, and you watch the movies, right? Oh, you can lie to a polygrapher. Having a few of them done, there's no way. There is no way. Unless, like, that's all you train for.
Well, I did a lot of interview and interrogation before I went into polygraph, and so you take those two ingredients, and I sitting down with one of my teenage boys and asking them those questions and giving them one shot to tell the truth. Um, it was always a lot of fun. Always my wife laughed about it. I laughed about it. And then when you got us together, we were tag teaming the boys. It was merciless. It really was because she was a better interviewer than I was.
It must have been
Yeah,
rough to
don't.
get anything over your eyes though in that household.
No,
Yeah, your kids, man.
no.
No parties, no parties at Bear's house.
Yeah.
Well, and actually, they since they're all adults, the baby's now 28. Since they're all adults, quite a bit has come out, and Sonia and I would just sit there and blink, and it's like we missed what we did what. So, but they're still
Oh, the
alive.
joys of being a parent, man.
The
Yep.
joys of being a parent, and it happens to everybody. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah. My
I
parents, like, they asked something, and I'm like, yeah, man, my senior year, I had 120 some odd cut hours before homecoming. And they're like, but you were a straight A student and you played all these sports. I was like, yeah, I didn't have to go to class. It shows what a waste of time. I also was like the principal's aide, and all the truancy letters I used to send out, and I saw my name on there. I was like, whoop, put it in my pocket. So, yeah. Um, yeah, my parents were not happy.
yeah, I got the. Wow, we read your yearbook. I didn't realize you did all that when you were in high school. I was like, oh.
Yeah. Yep. So good times, man. So we are the coffee squad. Will, what beverage you got today?
So I got some water, core
You're so
hydration.
boring.
But I also have my cup of coffee. We had Doug on last week. He told me about One Nation coffee, so I ordered some, and I had it with 3 days later. I had my order, and so I got like their little trial pack. It has like 12 different pods of 4 different flavors. So I'm drinking the Revelry this morning, and that is a light roast Tanzanian pea berry bean. So it's got it's a breakfast roast, light roast blonde. It's really good. Yep. Pink one's
Exactly,
up.
Bear. Exactly. Bear, are you a coffee drinker?
No, actually, I'm not. But since I knew that you guys were, I got me a monster just so I would have my share of caffeine so I could make it through the day, get me jumped up today. It
Yeah.
is zero sugar though.
So the funny part about all this, Bear, is that I am not a coffee drinker at all. And so the whole name of the coffee squad is kind of funny. When we started this, they didn't know I didn't drink coffee. And I don't think I told them until one of the few episodes in, like, hey guys, I don't drink coffee. So, so yeah, it is what it is. So you're rocking a monster over there, huh?
Drinking a monster, something to get me
Whew.
the motor running in the morning.
Yeah, yeah. I,
How about you?
man, so I normally have like a flavored bubbly water, and I ran out this morning. So I always drink like right now because it's cold here. So I'm drinking like a little Bengal spiced tea. That's kind of my favorite here in the wintertime. And then I had a crappy night of sleep, man. So I'm rocking a Red Bull right now. I actually bought it because I was like, oh, cool, Christmas colors. It's watermelon flavored. It's kind of
Christmas colors, but watermelon. There you go.
yeah. So
Nice.
I mean, I guess it's better than peppermint, right?
Yes.
So yeah, it's not bad. But yeah, normally I just drink either a tea or like I don't know, the LaCroix or whatever the sparkling flavored little water
Little
is.
bubble waters that tickles his
yeah.
nose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man card. Give me your man card. Just send it in the mail.
Well, I mean, Will is sitting here talking about his coffee and like the berry flavors and
But I drink it
a
black.
little
I
chocolate.
don't add any flavor to it.
Yeah,
I got to tell you,
notes.
Jake, when you sent the invitation, I'm thinking the coffee squad, you guys are going to have these big super mugs of, steaming black mud coffee and going at it and, all jazzed up. And then come to find out that you're drinking bubbly water. That's kind of disappointing, but that's okay. That's good. I feel better.
I like to set the bar up or down, I guess.
Down.
Like that's Adam. I know Adam's a good buddy of yours, and that's actually how we connected. Bear and I and Ray, and those guys. Like, I've been with them. Go to Circle K or a 7-Eleven, a gas station. They're perfectly fine with that gas station coffee. Where Will would probably get his panties in a bunch and wouldn't be able to drink it. So.
When I was coming back from Virginia, I ended up grabbing a cup of gas station coffee, and
Did you spit it out?
I trudged through it. It was rough though. Yeah, it wasn't.
See what I'm saying though, Bear? Like, look, if you just give me any kind of water, I'm fine with it. Doesn't I think I just do.
So you're gonna go get some Afghan water out of the well or whatever, and compare
Bro,
that
I've drank
to.
it. Like
I'm not saying you haven't drank it, but you're gonna compare that to some crystal clear sparkling water from Colorado or something. It's not. It's
Well,
not even.
You're really like going far on the spectrum here.
That's how coffee is.
So, yeah.
Listen, I was in the Army. I drank the black sludge that was like it would coat your teeth. It was so thick. All right, I've been there.
Now there were times when we used to take the coffee packet out of the MREs, and we didn't have time to get it warm, and we would just literally kind of suck on the coffee packet just to get the caffeine. Yeah. So that was hardcore.
Put it in your lip like a dip. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hey, with the dip, and then you would have Copenhagen on this
there
side.
You go. Yep. Mix it a little bit together.
Yeah.
Now you just take Adderall and C4 and you're good.
They didn't have that luxury. I didn't have that luxury when I was in. I was a little before that. So.
They stopped doing it once some of us were having some heart issues. Go figure. So, what are your guys' plans for Thanksgiving? And then we're going to jump into holiday airport travel, but it is a few days before Thanksgiving. Will, what do you got going on?
Just typical, family Thanksgiving with the kids and stuff. Cook a turkey or have some all the fixins, all that good stuff.
Are you cooking?
So I'm making some of the stuff. So I make like the mashed potatoes and the mac and cheese. Just
nice.
Minor. I just do some of the sides.
Gotcha. What about you, Bear?
We're going over to my wife's youngest sister's home with her husband and their 5 children, and I am going to be deep frying the turkeys.
Nice.
Okay, those are awesome.
Yeah. It's gonna be a good day.
What about you, Jake? You gonna smoke a turkey?
I am. So I'm gonna smoke the turkey breast. I actually have it to thaw now. I'll brine it probably tomorrow. With all the salt, herbs, and everything else, and then start it early Thursday morning. And then I love to cook, so I'll do the stuffing, mashed potatoes, and green bean casserole, and the pumpkin pie. So my mother-in-law is on this like weird. She doesn't listen to the show, so it's all right. So I can, hopefully she doesn't listen to it more. But yeah, she's always on these crazy weird diets. So for a few years it was like vegan, then vegetarian, then the keto diet. Now she's on the carnivore diet, and she'll only eat like hamburger meat and red meat.
It's good.
She's like, "Hey, I'll bring something." I'm like, "No, it's all right. Like, we're gonna eat meat. We're gonna eat some carbs. We're gonna have a good time. It's Thanksgiving." So, yeah.
Wet brine or dry brine?
Wet brine. Yeah. So I'll sit it tons and tons of salt, especially with turkey, because it takes so much to penetrate the meat. And then, like, if you do a slow smoke, I have the big green egg. So,
you gonna inject it too?
No, I don't think so. I haven't before, so I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, kind of easy Thanksgiving dinner. Take the boys out fishing on the lake here in the morning.
Watch some football.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll watch the Cowboys lose. Bear, are you a Cowboys fan?
I'm an old Cowboys fan. In other words, I like the Cowboys from days gone by. So,
So pre Jerry Jones.
no, well, yeah, sort of. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I like the old Cowboys whenever they had a standard and, when they were America's team. And I know that was probably a self-serving title, but I just felt like they were good. They were good guys, and I'm still friends with a few of those guys who played back then. And it is a different breed of cat than the guys that are playing today.
No.
So,
Oh, it totally is. Like I play in a golf tournament every year with Billy Joe Tolliver. So
mhm.
he played for the Saints and the Chargers, and
Texas Tech.
yeah, Texas Tech.
Mhm.
He says the same thing. And I think I'm sure you could probably say that with the younger FBI agents now in the field. Like you just see this culture change. I saw it in the Army. This weird, what I would call more entitled culture coming through. So yeah. Billy Joe was telling me some of the players back. You get meals before the game and after the game the team would pay for, and now as he goes and you still visit some of the teams and some of the games, like those guys are taking those meals where they used to give it to some of the workers and stuff. They're taking like to go boxes and stuff home. Like, man, you guys are making tens of millions of dollars, and you're taking to go boxes home. Like, but different culture, different era.
Yeah,
So
it's all entertainment, though. I mean, keep it in perspective. It's
yeah,
all it's just entertainment.
yep,
Everybody goes home at the end of every football game, and that's what
yeah,
I make sure my kids always understood, that we don't boo, we don't get upset. It's a game. It
yep,
is a game, no different than
yeah,
checkers. A
yeah,
little more physical, but no different than checkers.
yeah. I think Drew Brees has 13 broken ribs right now or something like
I think
that.
it's 11, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
but yeah, you're right, man. At the end of the day, all like sports should entertain. It should bring us together, and it's a game. Everyone, they they do it because they should do it because they love it and they get paid really well.
Mhm.
They've been given a God given ability that they've worked hard on. But like you said, at the end of the day, everyone goes home completely different than some other professions.
Well, back in the day, and since I'm much older than both of you guys, but back during the day before free agency, you went to play for the Cowboys, and you retired from the Cowboys. You were a Cowboy. You believed it. You played for a team. So not unlike college or your high school football teams, you were vested in that team. And
Yeah,
today, I feel like players are vested in who is going to pay them the most money, and that's
yeah,
all. So they don't have a desire to. They don't belong to Dallas. They just happen to be playing in Dallas right
yeah.
now.
That's just writing their paycheck. I think Bill
Mm.
Belichick kind of built that mantra for a decade or so. And I think that's why the Patriots were loved and hated so much. But he built that team mantra um, for the most part. He was able to get some of your star athletes for a lot less because they
Yeah.
want to win the Super Bowl. They valued that team and that Super Bowl over that paycheck.
Yeah,
As it
but if
should
you
be.
look at it, they only did it for a year or two, and once they got that ring, then they went for the paycheck again. So, I
Yeah.
mean,
So I think with the Bill Belichick
Who can
era.
blame them that? But who can
oh
blame them
yeah,
for
Yeah.
that
it
though?
is. Yeah,
Yeah.
setting up their future. I can't blame them.
Yeah.
So,
So
all right,
cool.
well, that's
So we're gonna eat some turkey, have some potatoes, some stuffing, some pumpkin pie or whatever pie. Um, and for some people, I know I was just looking at some stats right before we got on. So the CDC has said, hey, don't travel because of COVID. However, just on the AP wire, it says millions are sticking to their Thanksgiving travel plans despite warnings. So they say about 1 million Americans are going to pack the airports over the weekend, even though coronavirus is surging. So, with that being said, and Bear, because of what you do at the airport, again, for our listeners, if you didn't catch it in the beginning, he is the security manager at one of the largest airports here in the U.S. Tell us a little bit, if you don't mind, you know, what does your job entail, at the airport, the size, and the difference. Let me kind of clarify this all for everyone first is there, it is not TSA, it is the actual airport, the outside, and Barry, you can probably explain it better when you kind of start talking, but it is everything on the outside in, and correct me if I'm wrong, Bear, but if you could tell us kind of about what your job is and what your responsibilities are, that'd be great.
Jake, you're right. This is not TSA. This is not. We're not talking about passenger throughput into an airport, even though that affects our business as well. Our security officers are responsible for anything that comes into the airport, either through the 1542 employee portals or through the AOA gates. Anything that comes into what we call the sterile area, that would be inside the gate, in on the roadways inside the gate, or inside where TSA would be. So where all the ticketed passengers and everybody who's been screened and cleared is. Everybody who works back in there, and this is the amazing part, and I didn't realize this. I mean, I did, but I never really thought about it before I came to work here. Um, this airport goes 24 hours a day. There are people delivering food, delivering beverages. There's construction work being done, repair work being done. There are thousands of people who come through these employee portals every day. There are hundreds and hundreds of trucks and vehicles that come onto this airport. One of the things that everybody obviously is everybody in the security business is very highly aware of is the insider threat. And so for us to do our job and for us to screen every person who works here for prohibited items, explosives or weapons or paraphernalia or whatever, one of those prohibited items is paramount. And then we do our job every time. It's kind of like everybody's heard the adage that we have to bat 1,000. We can't miss. They only have to get it right one time.
Yep.
And so, you have a dump truck that's come through that gate 5 times today. You better inspect it the 5th time as well, just like you did the first time, because no telling what's been stuck in that truck between the 4th trip and the 5th trip. So that's our job. Our job is to secure the airport, the physical airport. We have 28 miles of perimeter fencing. We have 1,100 miles of roadway. Now, we also have the beauty of having a full-time, very competent, very highly professional police department, and a full-time, full complement fire department. And we are our own zip code. We have our own post office, our own zip code. This is a very large airport. It's bigger than Manhattan Island. So it's wow. It's the size of this place makes the job incredibly difficult. Last year, we had 75 million passengers come through this airport. 75 million.
So, what point does it go from airport security to TSA?
Well, TSA
walk up to the ticket counter, or go through security, or who has? I guess I don't know if jurisdiction is the right word, but who has responsibility for? At what point do you guys hand it over and it's up to TSA?
Jake, that's a good question, and actually, everything that takes place. Excuse me. Everything that takes place inside that airport, or inside the sterile area, is going to be the responsibility of TSA. They have the regulatory authority inside. So once you stand in that line and make an intention to go through a TSA checkpoint, you are obligated to go through. If you turn around and back out, there's a point of no return that every gate or every portal, every checkpoint will use to look at. That whenever you hit that point, they're not going to let you stop. If you stop and turn around and walk off, somebody's going to be stopping you and questioning you. But TSA is responsible for ensuring that all the passengers, all of the cargo being carried by the passengers, anything checked in, coming through those gates is going to, excuse me again, it's going to be checked out by TSA. So
gotcha.
But everything else, all the people who work here, which again, it's an awesome, daunting task, because the airport is going 24/7. We're not pulling passengers in 24/7, but our portals and our gates are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year.
So you're basically your own little self-sustaining city, your own little municipality out there.
Absolutely.
Okay. Interesting. Never even realized that, I always just kind of thought you had like your airport police. I always usually thought that most of those were like off-duty cops or whatever municipality was surrounding that airport. and I thought TSA kind of took over everything else. So definitely interesting and to know the difference between the two.
We have a very competent full police department. We have a criminal investigative division, patrol division, K-9 division, special operations. I mean, they are a full complement. Probably a large, small department type.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really, and we have a very synergistic relationship between all three of these major departments of Department of Public Safety.
When you guys all work together, you have to be hand in hand, right? So
right. The police, the commissioned police officers, all of our people are civilian security officers, but the commissioned police officers work very, very nicely with the civilian security officers and fire. There are multiple places that we lay over each other. There's that area in the middle where we have to work together. And it's just a good synergistic effect. We've got a great police chief out here. Our director does a great job. He does a good job of pushing us together and making us work hand in hand. And so one of these things is we're always the same and we're always kind of equally yoked going in the same direction.
Awesome. So what are some like traveler tips, right? So from your end, and I would almost say like airport parking, right? I'm assuming, does that fall under your guys' jurisdiction?
Excuse me. Parking doesn't. Okay. Police are going to be patrolling parking, but I can tell you what to do. And just because I've been out here now for a couple of years, and so most airports are going to have a low budget place to park. I forgot what they call it, but out on the outskirts of the airport, there'll be some place that you can park for $7
type place. Yeah,
$10, $12 a day. If you're going to be gone a long period of time, that's a great place to park. If time is critical to you, go park inside one of the terminals. Those are going to be watched. At this airport, we have cameras, and so we're monitoring that stuff. And if something does happen to a vehicle, we can always go back and check cameras. We've got 4,000 cameras, literally 4,000 cameras.
That's it.
Yeah. If you knew how much they pay for those 4,000 cameras, it is daunting. And there are people monitoring those cameras all the time. But parking is a big deal. As a matter of fact, parking is the number one revenue source for this airport, which is shocking. But you think about all the people who come to the toll gate, all the people who park here or park there. And so between that and the reduction in passenger throughput, which is how the airlines pay the airport, we've kind of taken it into shorts. But parking it's just dependent on what you need.
Yep. Okay. So what kind of tips, would you say for someone parking in like an off-site parking spot versus someone parking there closer to the terminal?
Find the shade.
Especially out there.
Yeah, especially down there. Yeah.
Find the shade or find a place where the thing about Texas is if you don't like the weather, wait 15 minutes because it's going to change. And so you can park on a beautiful sunny day and say, I'll be back on Sunday. And on Saturday, you're gonna have a hailstorm with stones the size of a silver dollar, and your car's gonna look like somebody took a ball peen hammer to it.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And so find shade or find one of those places that you can park under a little awning and some covering, and it's always a crapshoot. And actually, with the onset of Uber and Lyft and all these other companies, that's not a bad gig either, because you may pay a little more, but you got curbside service. You don't have to worry about your car. Your car can stay in the garage. Yep. There's a lot of options. It just depends on personal preference.
And I imagine depending on how long you're gone, it's actually might be cheaper if you're going to do an Uber than if you're, the distance you're out from the airport too.
Absolutely. So
what are some of the types of crimes that occur or at the airport that you kind of deal with on a day-to-day basis?
Well, again, my purview is not criminal activity because we're not law enforcement, but I do see what goes on. There's we have I'm sure there are illegal drugs that are being smuggled through. I'm sure that there are things that are much more nefarious than I'm made aware of because I'm not responsible for it. but there's obviously the traffic stuff that happens here because we have an international parkway. We have a highway that runs right through the middle of the airport, and so if you're willing to pay a $2 toll, you can bypass some of the traffic and cut through the airport. We have drunken rowdies coming off of planes. We had a situation the other day where like Sunday, a week ago Sunday, I got a phone call about 8 o'clock in the evening that the initial response was that there was an explosive on an aircraft. Wound up being somebody had snuck a gender reveal smoke grenade into somebody's bag as a joke,
Wow.
and it had rolled out on the floor. And I bet those people aren't friends anymore. But
No.
but it caused
Oh yeah,
the red star cluster to go up here until we had
Oh
that
yeah.
thing. But so that was
absolutely.
PD, that was FBI,
Yeah.
that was security, and that was
Yeah,
fire. That was all of us in tow together, making it safe. And the travelers don't even see a hitch. I mean, they don't even see a bump. There were 77 people that were put out that evening, but other than that, the rest of the airport, they were totally unaware of what happened.
Yep.
crazy. I know going
Yeah.
through TSA because of my leg, and I use like an alcohol spray to get my leg in and out. And so on the ion reader going through TSA, it only usually happens when I'm traveling with my wife and like we're on a condensed timeline. But I get pulled off to the side quite a bit because it'll pop, and they'll keep testing and it keeps popping. And I mean, I'm pretty familiar with the back rooms now with TSA.
Hmm.
But I would say, to your point, Bear, like I would, except for those few passengers that kind of see it happening, but everyone's getting, going from TSA to their gate and vice versa. You see nothing skips a beat.
And
Everyone just keeps
that's
going on.
interesting. We have a department out here called customer experience, and their whole job is to ensure that we keep a Disneyland like atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
They keep the smell, the Main Street USA smell. They don't really, not really the smell, but they keep everything appealing to the customer. Now I am their arch nemesis because I look at everything and say, I want, T-walls, and I want staggered
Mm-hmm.
barricades, and I want,
Yep.
spotlights and body armor. I want the threat to know that somebody's here watching, and they want it warm and fuzzy, and I want it the other way. But we have a great relationship, very synergistic relationship, and they help us to do our job and to do it well and to keep it off the radar and out of it's not oppressive looking to the people. Don't feel like they're
Not at
walking
all.
through Tel Aviv or someplace
Yep.
like
Yeah.
that.
I mean, I've flown in and out of your airport a ton of times visiting clients and friends and people there in Texas. And my only complaint about the airport is like they could update the baggage claim area a little bit.
I'll let them know
I,
you said so.
yeah, it's like I'm going back in the 1970s sometimes. But yeah, you would never know. It's super easy, super friendly. I've had zero issues. Now down in San Antonio, a little different story. And you'd think like military town, you have the Center for the Intrepid, Brooke Army Medical Center, where there's usually like one of three places as an amputee that you go. It's either Walter Reed, Brooke Army, or if you're on the West Coast, out there in San Diego. And I can tell you, like, I was probably having a bad day. That poor TSA agent ended up having a really bad day. But yeah, sometimes I would say there and here, like I'd say your smaller airports are where I've had some of the worst experiences. You would think like the JFKs, the Atlantas, LAXs, all these major airports around the city. Dulles, like zero issues ever getting in and out as an amputee with a prosthetic.
Well,
So
what one of the benefits we have of being a large airport is um, we have the resources. We have the resources to always have cutting edge equipment, and we're always looking to upgrade what we've got to make it better. The bottom line is, we want the airport safe and secure. We've got a whole group of people that's the innovation team, and their job is to keep the latest and the greatest and the newest, and to, we test drive virtually everything we use out here because we are so large and um, we're such a visible place to test drive your stuff that we test drive literally everything, and if it works, great. Because we spend a lot of money, we'll drop more money than the three of us have, but on equipment that again keeps it safe and secure and fast and efficient. Because you as a customer coming through this airport, or you as an employee working at this airport, you want to get to work with the minimal hiccup, and we want that experience to be smooth and fast and easy. So
Yeah, I think people don't realize, the amount of security and the safety and the different layers of security and safety that are at an airport. I didn't until I talked to you, Bear, about the different layers, right? And the amount of money and everything goes on, and you would never, ever know it just as your average Joe walking through, looking at it. So I think for our listeners out there who maybe they're not in the security industry, but travel quite a bit, like the safety that's, I'd say paramount at these airports. First and foremost,
it's daunting, Jake. If you stop and think about the number of doors, okay, doors that we have that go from the secure side of the airport out to the airfield, just those doors alone. I mean, you have to have alarms, you have to have cameras, you have to have monitors, you have to have a specific lock. It is just on a door, that literally leads you out to the jetway. And we have a lot of doors, a lot of doors at this airport.
yeah.
So, yeah, it's a daunting task.
So I know that the foot traffic is definitely, and probably the plane traffic has gone down because of COVID and all that stuff. But have you kind of beefed up some of your technology? I know you were talking about technology as far as doing like thermal imaging scanner type stuff to combat COVID, or is there anything that has changed since this has all started?
Well, regarding testing for or we're constantly upgrading our stuff. We're running temperature screenings. We are, we go our supervisory personnel go about to all of our security officers, and they run a little line of questioning by them every day. We check on our people, and then we require masks of anybody entering through a 1542 employee portal or through a gate. We require a mask. Obviously, once you get to where you're going, if you wear a mask or not, as long as you're social distancing, it's just being safe. But we haven't gone to any of the high end stuff yet to look for temperatures. I was talking to my wife the other day, and I said, sweetheart, 10 years ago, when, if you were running a fever, what do you do? She goes, you stay home. I said, right. And 50 years from now, what's going to happen when you're running a fever? You stay home. So we just ask people to be smart. If you don't feel good, stay home. The airport is going to take care of you. We're not going to throw you out on the wood pile because you're running a fever. And we ask the people who work here the same thing.
I think that's like one thing with COVID is, I'd say one of the bonuses, right? Especially having little kids, going to school in other places where it would always irk me, like when parents like, oh, he's running a little temperature, he has a runny nose, and he has a cough. Like, keep that little dude at home, man. I don't want my kid getting sick and then everyone else getting sick, And so
the doorknob lickers is what they are. They're doorknob lickers, and they spread it to everybody.
Yeah, it's like but parents will take them, and put them in school or whatever thing else. And I think COVID is, because everyone's so hyped up and hypersensitive. Now it's like, no, your kid's not coming to school. Where before it's like, okay, hey, that's your choice. We can't really say anything about it. And now with COVID, it's like, hey, stay home. And I think that's great with the travel industry. I just flew out to California a few weeks ago, and I fly Delta quite a bit. And I've flown Americans with COVID, and they all ask the same questions. They take your temperature. They ask you to wear a mask, like once you enter the airport, social distance. And then they ask, have you had a fever, and all the COVID symptoms stuff. And I think that's good. I think that's just good human practice, honestly. Like, hey, if you're sick, stay home.
Wash your hands, stay home, don't lick doorknobs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just
or windows
seriously.
for you, Will. Don't lick the windows. It's not a good look on you.
Hey, they have a good flavor.
Right.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about COVID. How has that affected you, Bear, at your airport? Because travel's been down, and I'd say, if there's a positive in it, what is that, and what are some of the negatives that you've seen?
That's a very good question, Jake. You would think that with the reduction in travel, the reduction in air flight, that we would have a reduction in our the demand on our work. But whether one person or 10,000 people come into this airport, the airport always has to be 100% ready for whatever happens to come. And so we literally have not skipped a day. We've been considered essential workers, and we have our security officers have been here every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, through this whole thing. The airport was very gracious in that whenever it first hit, they gave everyone a 2 week paid pandemic leave if you needed to take care of childcare or if you got sick. They would give you 2 weeks of paid leave, which was really unheard of. Shortly after we did that, then the federal government came out and said, no, you have to give everybody this 2 weeks of paid pandemic leave. And so we had folks out here who literally had to be off 4 weeks. But the airport, we just shifted and adjusted, adjust for our shift, and we just made it work and adjusted our personnel. Our security officers we made adjustments on shift times and on coverage and priorities, and made some reductions where we needed to make reductions, but we never furloughed anyone. We always had a place. If you came to work, there was always a place for you to work, and we have kept everybody fully assigned and fully employed, which is basically unheard of.
Awesome. I'd imagine in this economy with the cut, because you are a not-for-profit,
right,
and you get your revenue off of travelers coming in and out off the airlines and everything else. With that reduction, that's impressive. The airline industry, from what I've heard, it's billions of dollars have been lost due to COVID. So for you guys to continue to operate and not have to furlough anyone, that says a lot about your organization and how you guys operate. So kudos to you guys.
Yep.
Well, I'll tell you, the airport has made it. This is a very forward-leaning, forward-thinking airport, and they have worked with everyone. It's really you always hear it's a big happy family, and I can honestly say that this airport has they have taken care of everyone, and they continue to take care of everyone, and I know that we're having to become more efficient and effective, but that's okay. It needed to come anyway. It needed to happen anyway. We just had to rip the Band-Aid off instead of soaking it. We just had to rip it off, and it's been hard, and people are suffering because, well, for example, we have a massive reduction in overtime because we've had to, again, reduce our expenditures, and our officers have just, tucked their heads down and pulled in the yoke, and here we go. And it has affected police and fire the same way. It's affected the entire airport. We did have a lot of people, though, the non-essential folks who are continuing to work from home. So it's, we're still here, and we're still doing well. The airport is still growing. We're still doing construction. We're still looking at improving our technologies, improving our methodologies. We're constantly trying to improve ourselves and to make it more safe and more secure. So anyway, that's where we are, Jake.
No, I think it's impressive. I think for our travelers too, especially, holidays coming up, to think about that, right? Like, it can be stressful, I have 3 little boys, flying with them. It's a little stressful sometimes, but, for our listeners to hear about everyone's job at the airport and the safety measures that are there to protect them and others. Hopefully they take a little bit of a breath this year and kind of realize, like, hey, they're doing this for our protection. I hear it every time I go through TSA. There's always some person whining and complaining, the line's too long, or why this or why that. And I'm a total smart aleck. And my thing is, like, look, if a terrorist hits your plane, your family's going to ask why wasn't enough done,
Right.
Or you would do the same thing. So, just take that breath, and they're doing a job. They're there to keep us safe. So,
well, let me address something real quick, Jake. My wife and I function on two different planets. I know you guys are probably very similar to your wives, but my wife's from Venus, I'm from Mars, and and we do things very differently. She likes to come to the airport like she's doing the limbo. She likes to slide under that wire, come get off out of the car, walk in through the checkpoint, and get on the plane. I like to be at the air. I want to sit and read a book for 2 hours, and grab me a soda or something, and when they call my number, I'm watching my boarding pass, and then I go get in line. I'm very OCD when it comes to it. I carry Lysol wipes, and I always wipe my seat and my tray and everything down. I wear my mask when I have to fly or get to fly. But I get here with plenty of time, and talk about pulling the stress off, especially with little kids. Get them rested, get them fed, have toys, get them to the airport where it's not stressful, where even if that line takes an hour to get through the TSA line, it's kind of like, there was a guy who ran for governor here in the state of Texas back some years ago, and I'm not going to tell you what he was referring to, but he said, it's kind of like rain. If there's nothing you can do about it, you may as well kick back and enjoy it. And so it's like the same thing with the TSA line. If there's nothing you can do about it, you're with your family, you're with a bunch of friends going to TSA.
Yeah. Have fun.
He was trying to call. Just kick back and relax and enjoy it. It's going to happen, but you can't hurry it up, and you getting uptight and losing your temper. And the people screening you are doing a job, and thank them for doing their job, and be cooperative. Take your belt off, prepare yourself for what is coming. Don't just pull your belt off and, divest the stuff in your pockets. And you're not going to get stopped, except for you, Jake, because your leg. But
I do TSA pre-check, and so I'm like you. I don't get there for a few hours, but I always give myself an hour to an hour and a half to get through TSA, just in case there's a hiccup with a leg or whatever. And the good news is, I'd say 8 out of 10 times there's never a problem, and I just go on through. And unless my wife, of course, is traveling with me, then I always get stopped. But afterwards, again, I'm a huge Delta fan, and I go up to the Delta Lounge, hang out there for an hour, 45 minutes, get a little something to eat. Even with COVID, I think Delta and American, I've been to both their lounges. Like, they do a good job of just wrapping stuff up and, take what you want on the plane. I would tell people who are traveling that be prepared, especially if you're traveling with kids. You aren't going to get, the beverage service isn't the beverage service anymore. It doesn't matter what type of airfare you're sitting in, unless you're at first class and like a Delta Comfort, they'll come with some beer and wine every once in a while, but your sodas and all that other stuff, you get a little bag with a small little thing of water in there, some Cheez-Its and like a cookie, and that's it for your flight, whether it's 5 hours or whatever, that's it. So I would tell our listeners, whether it's for yourself or your family, come prepared with some water bottles. Like, again, you can't have your water bottle full going through TSA afterwards. You're going to have to go to the little market or whatever, buy yourself a meal and some beverages if it's a long flight, because you're going to be miserable. I learned that the hard way flying from Atlanta out to California. Like, oh man, first class, I'm going to be good. Nope. It was a long, thirsty flight. So,
yeah, I think just being prepared, giving yourself plenty of time, and you can always check, because I've found that every TSA gate is different. Every TSA gate you go to is different. And I will tell you a little secret, that like if you came to this particular airport and you know that the terminal you're using is exceptionally busy, park at another terminal and take the Skylink. Go through a quick, easy TSA checkpoint, and then take the Skylink over. Check your bags, and then you can just get on the tram and ride over where it is busy, and you just bypass stuff. There's ways to get around stuff, but if you pre-plan, if you look ahead, there's actually TSA has a website you can go to, and it'll show you how busy the checkpoints are, and so you can move yourself accordingly. So, my suggestions.
So, and I know like kind of what we're talking about falls outside your purview, Bear, but for our listeners, we talked about Ubers, taxis, and Lyft, and the car service, and how easy and great they are to getting to and from the airport, and that kind of helps too. If you're traveling. But with the holiday, how does holiday travel different from normal day-to-day travel? Do you guys at the airport prepare any differently with Thanksgiving and the Christmas holidays coming up versus, you know, any other time of year?
That's another great question. And it's funny because everybody kind of thinks that it's kind of like when you were a kid growing up. You look at your school teacher and you think your school teacher lives at the school. When you run into her at the grocery store, you're always kind of shocked that she might have another life. And so people kind of look at the airport. It's like, well, the airport runs all the time and they're always here. And yeah, we are. But you know what? Everybody who works here wants to have Thanksgiving. Everybody who works here has a family to one degree or another somewhere. Everybody who works here wants to be home on Christmas morning. And in order to accommodate all the travelers, that's not always possible. And so, yeah, we have to man up. We have to make adjustments. We have to shift priorities. I always look at and I call it the battle rhythm. I'll look at the battle rhythm of the input through employee portals, and we will make adjustments. If we're running kind of a light shift because people are taking time off, I'll just have them man those portals based on the battle rhythm. Whenever the traffic is heavy, we'll move a few bodies over. When the traffic goes back down, we'll push them back out onto other priorities. But we also have a cap. There are people who ask for annual leave and it gets denied because we got to have a body. We can't afford to not have that body here. And most of the troops here are really, they're really good about taking their job seriously, doing what they're supposed to do. And I'll tell you what, it's really given me a burst of pride to watch my people during this pandemic, because as bad as things have been for some places, you have guys and girls that just keep on coming out here and doing it day in and day out at great personal risk. And a lot of them with children, most of them with children at home. And they come out and expose themselves every day because they have a job to do. And they can go work at a bank somewhere and be working from home, but they choose to come out here and work. And for that, I'm extremely grateful.
And like you said, the holidays, everyone wants to be home for the holidays. I don't care who you are, if you're a single person, even in the military and being deployed, it was like, man, you still want to be home for the holidays. So again, another reason just to be respectful and kind to those employees who are there, keeping you safe.
It's very easy to say thank you.
Yeah. So I know we've got a little bit of time left, Bear, and I don't know how much, we've talked about human trafficking before on this podcast, and I know going through a lot of these larger airports, I fly out of Atlanta a lot because I'm on the East Coast, and I see a lot of signs about, hey, the signs of human trafficking. Any thoughts you can give our listeners to maybe help them and what those signs are or anything like that? And if it's outside your lane, it's outside your lane. I understand that.
Well, it is outside my lane because I don't have anything to do with it, but I would like to address it anyway, because I thought about this. This is such a eyesore. I mean, it's such a bad situation. I'm going to look at it from a humorous standpoint first. Did you ever see The Simpsons where Homer was in the witness protection program? And he had a hat, he had a baseball cap and a T-shirt that said WPP on it. So regrettably, we don't have, the people who are executing human trafficking don't wear caps and T-shirts that say HT, human trafficker. And the kids that are being abused in this situation they don't have signs on them. I think it's a matter of being of situational awareness. If you've been in law enforcement or been in the military, you learn to always fall back on the OODA loop. You're always paying attention to your surroundings, to those things that are right and those things that are wrong. And again, I give Mrs. Stevens credit, because I'll tell you what, she is one dialed in chick, and she will see something. She'll say, there's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with this. And she will go and address it. And so I think it's a matter of people not being, we all tend to get cocooned and myopic in our view. And unless somebody's got a flashing neon light on their head, which they're not going to have, they don't pay any attention. And They just want to get their family to the flight and they want to move on. But it's out there. It happens. And the only way we're going to see it, the only way a person's going to see it is if you see something that looks out of the ordinary, say something about it. You hear the see something, say something. And it's true in human trafficking too. If somebody doesn't look like they are in the right situation, literally just open your mouth and say something about it, because it will be addressed. It's better to be wrong than to be right and not do anything about it.
100%.
There's a lot of children that just disappear off the face of the earth because we tend to be cocooned and live within our own little four walls and don't want to look at the ugly of the rest of the world. I tell my neighbors all the time, it's a little bit off topic, but I tell them all the time, we don't live in a Disney movie. The lion and the lamb don't lay together, and they're not best friends. And I mean, it is a treacherous, ugly, mean world out there. And if we are not realistic about it and watching, bad stuff happens. And you could have been the catalyst that shut it down and choose not to because you're stuck in your own little world. So just keep your eyes open. And if it doesn't feel right, it's probably not right.
Yep. I think that's a good point you bring up is a lot of people kind of live in their cocoon. I know you as an FBI agent saw it, and me as a police officer saw it, Jake, you overseas saw it. There is evil in this world. And a lot of people don't want to admit that or accept that, but there is pure evil in this world where people just want to do nefarious things. And that whole gut feeling that you get, hey, something doesn't feel right, that listen to your gut, because a lot of times, that's your instinct. That's your instinct kicking in. I know me as a police officer, I listened to it, and I'm sure you guys did as well. So,
yeah, no, I mean, that gut instinct's kept me and, teammates of mine alive, and I, not just that, with the cocoon and what we're talking about, it's, like Bear said, man, this is a child, or this at the end of the day, it's a human being. The worst case if you were wrong, is they're going to talk to him, they're going to pull him aside, they're going to investigate it and let them go on their way. No harm, no foul, However, if that little kid or that human being, if it is, you don't say anything, then they're going on to live more and more, more of a miserable life. So get outside that bubble. I think as a country, we learned that with 9/11. And that lasted for a few years, and then we all went back to our bubble. I would say for my family, 9/11, it happened. I remember watching it happen on the news, and everyone kind of went back to their normal life until I was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to join the military. And it was like, well, what do you mean? And it popped, that security comfort blanket that we all have. It definitely, until it happens to you, most people don't really care. And I think that's sad state of affairs in this country. And we can almost stop it, if we're just a little bit vigilant. You don't have to know everything what you're looking for, but just look for something. Like Barry and everyone's saying, like listen to those intuitions and just say something. So, Barry, anything else? Any little tips, advice that we haven't talked about as we kind of wrap up the show that you think would be important for our listeners to know about with just holiday? And we're calling it holiday travel because there's a lot of travel that happens during the holidays, but just going to the airport. Things that they should look for, or any scams or anything like that.
There's nothing specific, and I have access to a very good source of intelligence out here. We have somebody's dog is having a good time. We have access to good intelligence out here, and I don't know of any scam going on, but all I would say is, if it looks too good to be true, it probably is untrue. Watch your P's and Q's, fall back on your gut instinct, make sure that I don't trust virtually anyone. If I know you and I have a reason to trust you, I will, but I don't let other people take my bags. I don't look for a cut rate deal. I don't give my credit card numbers out. I'm extremely cautious about the way I conduct my business and the way I conduct my life. And so I think just be aware and be aware. Again, it's like how many emails a day do we get that you're being noticed by the barrister of some third world country who's got millions of dollars and they're just dying to give it to you. They don't even know
Man,
your
J.M.
name.
Prince hits me up all the time.
All the time. And so it's that sort of thing. If it looks too good to be true, it is. Nothing's free these days. And so just be on your toes and be on your A game all the time. And there's nothing specifically that I could say that's going to be a problem, but that's all I could say about that. I mean,
yeah. I would tell our listeners, we talked about holiday shopping and the experience, and Will kind of put a dark cloud around that, and didn't make it fun. Typical Will fashion there. But,
fun sucker.
Going to the airport, like Bear was saying, give yourself plenty of time. Look at the traffic patterns. If you live in a major city, traffic, around the airport or on the freeway getting there. Know your traffic patterns, know the times. Give yourself plenty of time. If you're going to park, I always say, park by a light. That if your car is going to stay overnight, park by a light that has it. If you're going to park in the parking garage, drive around. If there's bushes, anything. Just your situational awareness is huge. And the same thing as you're going through the airport. Walk. Don't always just be on your cell phone, kind of idly not paying attention. Just pay attention. And it goes, we've talked about human trafficking, but there's other crimes and stuff that can happen. That can happen to you. Pockets getting grabbed or backpack if you leave it somewhere here or there. I know in Seattle last year flying home, there's 2 sets of these nice Bose headphones I accidentally left in the Delta Lounge there. So, again, give yourself enough time. Always look before you get up and leave your seat. Make sure you're not leaving anything there. And then I always say if you're traveling, use your credit card for everything. That way, if someone's using a skimmer or something, they're not wiping out your bank account, ruining that vacation or anything else. So it's so much easier to deal with a credit card company than your personal bank with that kind of stuff. So those are just my little tidbits. Bear, I can't thank you for coming on the show. Will, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so we did launch our new YouTube, or not our YouTube, but our new podcast channel. So website, coffeesquadpodcast.com. Check it out. Let us know what you think. It looks pretty good to me. See Jake in his leg and me in my Crocs and socks. So, it's a good time. Check out our YouTube channel at youtube.com. You can just search the Coffee Squad. We'll pop up. If you go to our coffeesquadpodcast.com, you can click on any of the platforms that you listen to, and we will be on there, and you can subscribe and follow us. If you're following us on Apple, make sure you give us a rating and let us know or review, because that's how they track it over there, and we need to bump our numbers up, pump those numbers up over there. Follow us on Facebook at Coffee Squad Podcast or Instagram at coffee_squad_podcast. Bear, thank you very much. Had a good conversation about the travel. I appreciate it. Had a great conversation, and have a great holiday weekend. This will probably come out next week, so there you
go. I appreciate you guys, and thanks for the opportunity, and you guys have a great Thanksgiving and a good holiday.
Thanks, Bear. Definitely you too.